Matt Lenihan for Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store. Ah,
What's
Kings
up,
will be here.
man? What's up?
What's
Long time
going
no
on?
see. Again.
I know.
Forever.
Yeah, but it's kind of good. It keeps it a little bit fresh. You know, we always speak to people quite regularly, but it's good to have a bit of a gap in between. How you keeping anyway? Told you off camera, you're looking in good shape. I know you're doing some training.
Yeah, thanks. I got a competition in October, back end of the year. Back end of the year it is. I was just giving myself a target just to get myself in good nick,
Aye.
and I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying. It's addictable. It's addictive. You've got to have, to box. You've got to have a kind of addictive, sick personality. And that's me. I've just found something I've got my
Aye.
teeth into. I'm like, damn it. So when I should rest, I'm like, I'll just push it a little further. And then I'm just getting all particular with what I eat, when I eat, how I eat it, and all that sort of
Mhm.
stuff. All right. It's okay. It's good.
58 going on 28. Go on.
Yeah, I wish. I wish. Yeah, I wish. I wish.
Nah, look, I'm pleased you jumped on anyway. Look, there's a huge fight this weekend. I want to get your opinions on it. And
Yeah.
look, Dillian Whyte and Moses Itauma. I think when this first got made, and rightly so. Look, Dillian's been had a lot of inconsistencies over the last few years, and Moses was on this great run. Look, fair enough, he's not fought anyone of Dillian's caliber. But going into fight week now, people have seen maybe the shape of Dillian. You've a few more going. Wait a minute, he does look prepared. Now I know how you
Yeah.
look's not always how you feel mentally and sharp in the ring. But what do you make of this weekend? There's so many questions.
You're always judged by your last fight. And I think in Dylan's last fight, he just didn't look. He looked slow. He looked ponderous. He looked gone. And maybe he's disinterested. Maybe whatever's going on there. And he said he's had an horrendous last 3 years. And people got to take these things into account because if mentally things aren't right in your home life, it's very hard to perform to the best of your ability when it comes to fight. And Dylan, I like Dylan. I got a lot. He's grown on me, and he's a straight shooter. He says how it is, and he doesn't take things personal unless you put your hands on him. So I've got a lot of time for Dylan. I get him. He reminds me of my older brother, who's passed away now, but just like Dylan, just a proper crackerjack. He's on it, man. And so I've got a lot of time for him. I hear where he's coming from. You know what he said? I'm never given the favorite corner. People think, I'm always the guy that's supposed to lose.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm not gonna tell you what I can do, what I can't do. I'm just gonna go out there and do my thing. He's respectful to Moses as Moses is to him, which is so nice and refreshing. I still think it'll be one hell of a fight, depending on what tactics Moses takes. Now, I
Yeah.
know it's quite clear Moses' track record is nowhere near as a professional as near as Dylan's. Moses 20 and Dylan's 37.
Mm-hmm.
Will that make a difference? Well, you look at Alexander Usyk, you look at Tyson Fury. These guys are 37, but it's what kind of 37 they are.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of 37? So we take age out of it. Then you talk about wars in the gym. You talk about how fighting has taken its toll on fighters. I see Dylan is not the fighter he was, but the fighter he is. He's still a dangerous cookie, dangerous, honest fighter that'll say, "Come on, we'll have some of this." Now, for Moses, all the questions are for him, so no pressure's on Dylan. He's like,
No.
"Yeah, he's the one that's supposed to win. That's good." I don't mind that. I don't mind that the spotlight not being on me, and I like that attitude from Dylan because he can go in there and think. He's no nonsense. He's no
Mm-hmm.
my man lives with these big ass dogs that look like dinosaurs. He's no nonsense. He don't ramp. So when the bell goes, no matter if he's your friend or foe, he's going to try and knock you out. So
Mm-hmm.
and that's the job what he's going to. I think this can go one of two ways. One, it'll be a hard night a hard night for Moses, and he'll learn so much about himself, and learn so much about himself. And I think Moses will win. I do, but I just think it's not going to be a pushover like everybody thinks. And Moses is a strong kid, but he's inexperienced. He's a young kid. He's a talented young kid. That's what's in his favor. Because if you're talking Dylan a few years ago, and I said, "Nah, Dylan's got it." I just think on past performances, I think I'm judging it by that. I look at Dylan's
Yeah.
condition, great shape. Buddy's training with him out there. Buddy's no nonsense. See how it is. If you don't know what I'm telling you, it's your problem. It's not mine. So he's got some wisdom in his corner.
Yeah.
He's done. He lives a nice, quiet, peaceful life out in Portugal. So that side of his life, you know what I mean? He's away from all this foolishness that we see here.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope both fighters, God willing, will be in good shape when they come out the fight, after the fight. But I think can be a proper ding dong.
I watched the face off with Addy in the middle, and I get the impression, and it's always the same in boxing. You know, when you have a fight, no matter which way the result goes, if Moses wins well, it's Dillian's passed it. If Dillian wins, it's Moses is not the star supposed to be. Should we in boxing? Should we start maybe just giving these guys a bit more of a break and just saying, you know what, they're just two good fighters. One wins, one
But I
loses.
did chuckle. I did chuckle when
Yeah,
Dylan put it on Addy. He said, "I know what you've done. I know what you've said." And I was like, and he put in the pressure. Yeah, bro, if you're in the hot seat, man, you're gonna get those things. Sometimes the fights turn on you, so you're gonna be prepared for that. And so,
mm,
and I just like Dylan said, "I'm still cool. I don't mind. Everybody's got an opinion.
yeah,
Don't take it personal." He's one of the few fighters that gets it. And of course, you know, you get people that will just give it that negative slant on both fighters. They're both two good fighters.
hmm
One has had the experience, one is getting the experience.
yeah,
You've got to respect both men. Uh, Dylan more so because Dylan probably could have took an easier path, which would have been probably as financially viable for him. So, but he wants to fight,
hmm
and that's it. And he wants to think, all right, then, come on, you write me off. And it's a calculated decision what he's done in picking, in giving the nod to Moses.
Well, you look at it, and at this time, you're thinking this is all set up for White Chisora three, and let Derek sail off into the sunset. Let if whoever wins, sorry, carry on or do whatever. You look before this fight, and then he goes and takes this fight, and you're like, whoa! Like you've proven there that you proved it anyway, but he really is that guy. He's not bothered.
You look at the fighters over the last 5 years that have been our headline fighters, the fighters that the dramas, the soap opera's been about. They're coming to the end of that period, and now it's time for the young ones to come through and
Mm-hmm.
create their own story, create their own rivalries, create their own battles, and that's what's happened. So this is just a changing of the guards, and it's not just with Dylan. It's not just with AJ, not just with Tyson. You know, the heavyweight landscape is changing. So now you've
Mm-hmm.
got to get and a new breed coming through.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just how it is, and we'll see how the story goes with Moses. Moses is still inexperienced, but the spotlight, the headlight that's on the headlines that are on him, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that's another side of our game that you've got to deal with. But he seems to be very humble, which I've seen before. And, you know, some fighters let it get to them, some fighters don't. He seems very humble and very matter of fact
Yeah.
about the fight. He knows it's a tough fight. He reminded Dylan that back in 2019, he um, he asked him if he could spar with him, and
He
Dylan like,
wanted that
buddy.
work. Yeah.
And so, and that's the problem is this: if you're a fighter coming through and you're up at the top like Moses is now, there's a young heavyweight, Leo Atal, I think
Leo Tang. Yes.
he's had two professional fights. He's now looking
Yeah.
at Moses, like Moses was looking at Dylan. And the responsibility of being top dog is you've got to make sure you're prepared for someone that's been watching you for years. And you've got to devise a game plan to beat
Yeah.
that person in 6 weeks. And that's the responsibility of being on top dog. So now the tables have turned. Now the guy that he was watching in Dylan, now it's his chance to say, you know what, I've been watching you all this time.
Mm.
You know, I've had years to watch you. You're probably just aware of me over the last year. I've had years to study you. And it's the pyramid of life.
It's a really good way to put it. That when you look at the sort of turning wheel, the constant turning wheel of fighters. Look, I want to ask you from the other point of view. One fighter in terms of Anthony Joshua. There's three things that I'm hearing at the minute. So I've seen Frank Smith and Freddie Cunningham out in Ghana, Accra, and there's potential talk of a Tony Yoka fight, who's just signed with Frank Warren. With Jake Paul calling Anthony Joshua out, Eddie Hearn and AJ both seem, you know, okay to welcome that. And then we have Andre Ward saying there's one fight that I potentially do, you know, could do it at Wembley. And AJ, to be fair, and I've not really seen him as active on Instagram, but he fired back in the comments straight away saying payday, 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 Canelo voice, and fired straight back. What do you make of what's going on with AJ at the minute? Because look, he's been to the top of the mountain in terms of world titles, etc. But he's now at that stage where he can take a Jake Paul fight. I think most of us know what happens there. There's Tony Yoka on the table. Where's the ambition? What do you make of the whole AJ
If I was
picture at the minute?
AJ at this stage in his career, if it was real, if I was AJ at this stage of his career, I'd take Jake Paul. I take Jake Paul because there's more money there. If it was real, I don't think it's real. I think it's bullshit. I think Jake Paul has,
The, the
I think
clout.
it's yeah, I think it's bullshit. I think it's Jake Paul has done an amazing job. Last month he wanted to fight Canelo, remember? So now he's done an amazing job and he's kidding and calling and teasing Eddie and teasing everybody, hey, yeah, we'll do this. And if Eddie's in on it and he's like, we'll just talk this up, we've got other plans, then good work, Eddie. But if Eddie's been suckered in by this young boy, he's had you over. I don't see this happening. I'm just thinking, are you mad? So anyway, but if it happened, if it was real, for AJ at this stage in his career, I take that one because there's more money in it. And we
Mhm.
can't, he's never going to be the guy he was. There's no money in it. If he if he then looks at it and thinks, because it's a sure shot, that's a done deal. If he looks and thinks, you know what, I'm still respectful of my position as a heavyweight fight contender. But you know what, this guy, as in Andre Ward, he's calling me out. He's calling me out. And this little older man is calling me out. That fight is a fight where you think, damn. And that is a brave shout for AJ because, he should win, but should he?
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? And these are questions he should win, but should he? At 41 years old, trust me, you've still got the moves. You've not got the engine, you've not got the pace, you've still got the moves. So Andre Ward is still a dangerous cat. Do you think this man's not been hitting the bag all this time?
Oh no,
So
no,
so,
no.
so when he said that, he's singing right. So AJ, to dismiss him, he can undermine it. Ching ching, ching ching. That's what he's saying. And but he's responded to it. Has AJ responded to anything to do with Jake Paul? Anything from AJ? No, he hasn't.
I can't
Eddie
recall
has.
if he's responded on Eddie. Obviously has, yeah, 100%.
Eddie has, but I haven't seen anything. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So this is the one that stands out. AJ, I think he said something like, um, yeah, I think no, he might have done actually. He might have said something, but I just think this response to Andre Ward, I think that's made his ears prick up.
Hmm.
Uh, and he'll be thinking, that's the one that he'd probably want to avoid.
Hmm.
Um, but on the if it's on the table and the offer's there, he can't avoid because all it takes is turkey or shit to say, I want this fight, and
Hmm.
I'm giving you Y, Z, and if that becomes public, he can't avoid it.
Should AJ Jake Paul be sanctioned? I see a lot of people saying no. I want your opinion. Does it gets sanctioned? It does
Sorry,
because of
I
money, but
can't believe we're still talking about this shit, man. It's not
it's
happening.
not me. It's not me. It's there, and Eddie's relationship with MVP, which has been fractious, well, it is slash was. It has got better over the past however many months with the stuff they've done. So it makes money. It makes sense.
Okay, if it does happen, it shows AJ's intention to because all of a sudden he's all right to fight.
Mm-hmm.
We're not talking about a rematch with Danny Dubois. We're not talking about getting one step closer to becoming three-time heavyweight champion. Now I'm fitting to fight you, but I'm not fitting to fight you. So
Mm-hmm.
so it shows us his appetite for to
The fight.
be for fighting. So if we're going to go in this make believe situation, should the fight be sanctioned if he fights Jake Paul? No, it shouldn't. And I'd be very surprised if the British Boxing Board of Control sanctioned it. But then, would it be here? Because Jake Paul, believe it or not, might be the bigger draw. The books are there with Jake Paul. So he'll say, no, we're doing this in the States. We're doing it in Timbuktu. We're doing it in anywhere. He can say what he wants. It's his call. And this is why people are. So this is another form of ching ching. When Jake Paul's there, it's another form of ching ching. So even though Andre Ward's doing it, it's another form of ching ching.
But do you remember when he was calling for the Canelo fight? Obviously, Canelo's got business, which I want to talk to you about. When he was calling for the Canelo fight, he uploaded that contract saying, "Look, before Canelo went to Turkey, this fight was happening." So he's mad enough to. I think he's mad enough to offer that out.
Dude, I'm telling you, if the boy, listen to me. What's his nickname? The problem child?
Yeah.
We'll call it out and call it out because he thinks the chances of it really, really happening a slim to none. But
Hmm.
because he's got himself that kind of profile,
Yeah.
oh my God, Jake Paul, he's done it. He's done a great job. He's done
Hmm.
a great job because we're talking about it. We're daydreaming about it. We've put him in the mix. Do you remember when Junior first turned pro and his dad was talking about him fighting Gennady Golovkin?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And near that level once he turned pro at that stage. And the job was done. Jake Paul's done exactly the same thing. So I've got to give him props in regards to what he's done. You can't knock the kid. He's done a great job, but in reality, he's not even a domestic. He lost to what's his name?
Tommy
Fury.
Fury. Yeah.
Tommy
Airy.
Fury.
Yeah.
Not even domestic level.
Airy
So
lost.
what kind of fight will it be? Will it be an exhibition? What kind of fight will it be? And that's where the problem lies.
Just quickly, Canelo Crawford in a few weeks. Come on, tell me your thoughts because
No, great fight. I think Crawford's an unbelievable fighter, but I think an outstanding fighter is Canelo. And Canelo, I've always said, right now he beats 76% of the fighters out there. And I just think he might be too strong. I
mhm.
think he's too strong, too fiery, too powerful for for Crawford. And in Crawford, that currently, he's proven track record. He's the best fighter in the world. And I just think styles make fights, and I think that's a tough thing.
Crawford's obviously he's cemented his legacy in terms of what he's done in boxing. There's a lot of good taglines that go on, but if he does manage to beat Canelo, where do you put him on that top echelon in the conversation?
You've got
Because
to put him
he's
up
got to be
there.
up there.
Yeah, you've got to put him up there. But you remember Canelo when he was 22 years old, he lost to Floyd Mayweather. Now it's changed. Now Canelo's the one on the going out of his career
Yeah.
where Crawford's like up there at the top. So now it's changed. So can Canelo use his experience, his knowledge, his wisdom, and all the experience that have happened to him
Hmm.
to be able to negate and beat Terence Crawford? He should be. He should be. Um, and I just think he's going to be too strong. I think he's just going to be too strong for him, too powerful for him. Which is a
Um,
lovely fight.
it's a very interesting fight. Look, I've got to ask. Eubank-Benn done. All this confirmed. I was saying to Eddie, we was in Vegas for the last time I was in Vegas. Myself and Colin from IFL, we walked up escalator in the area, and we were talking about when this fight's going to get made. As soon as we mentioned his name, the man himself appears. It was the weirdest shit I've seen in a long time. Like, Chris, come here, and he just said, "Look, fight will happen. Might not be the date we want, but they want, but." Fight will happen. We didn't say too much more after that because obviously the setting and we were out, so it didn't happen. But it's been confirmed. Eddie Hearn's come out and said, look, the weight stipulations are the same. I heard a lot of people comment and say we almost got away with it in the first fight. We know they both were in hospital after the first fight. Apparently, acute hydration for Chris, and obviously Conor was in. Do you want to see this rematch?
Yeah. It was a great fight, great spectacle. And because I remember the fathers, it's a great story. Um, these two, I think Chris, I think there's no secret. He's a bounty hunter. He's going where the big bucks are.
Mm-hmm.
Chris, patient enough and held his poker face to say, "No, you're not making me fight September. This is when I'll fight." And because he knew there was an appetite for it, it's like having a good poker hand. So he always knew this would happen when he wants it to happen. So he's trying to take control of the narrative. My only worry is that the conditions are exactly the same, as in what
Yeah.
contractual conditions are exactly the same as the first fight, and that's where I worry. Because after that fight, even though it's brilliant, it was good for those two together, and especially for the British public to get it involved. I think Chris, what I saw, had nothing left to live to give or learn from, or to grow from that fight. Where Connor did.
Mm-hmm.
So when that fight was over, I thought Connor, there was more to give from Connor. He learned a hell of a lot from that. Whereas Chris, I didn't see it. I'm thinking because at times I'm thinking you're letting this little man put it on you like that, and Connor's like, oh my God, I know what I can do now. And I think in this fight, even though I went for Chris in the first fight, I'm going to go for Connor in this one because I think Connor uh, Conor has grown from that fight as a fighter. I just think as fighters we stop growing at some point. We've got to go back to our memory banks, and unfortunately, our age and the ring fatigue
Mm-hmm.
gets the better of us when we've got common sense. So I'd lean towards Conor in this one, especially with the weight conditions being exactly the same.
Last one from me. Something a bit different, but something very close to you, I'm sure. There's a new film coming out called Giant, depicting the late and great legendary Brendan Ingle, showing the career of Nassim Hamed. What's your thoughts on it? And I've seen the trailer, and you know when you see the pictures and you sort of get immersed in it, and you're looking at it. I know how much
I
I
went
can
up to
never go on.
I went up to set when they were filming, and Pierce Brosnan when he was doing the job, I'm thinking because it was originally going to be Paddy Constantine being Brendan, and then Paddy dropped out and Pierce dropped in. I'm thinking, how's this going to work? And when I went up there, how they did him up, I'm like, damn. And Pierce did his homework. Pierce is asking me stuff about Brendan, like asking like little habits. And I'm telling him like Brendan would have a piece of cake and a glass of milk. That's his little treat. But sometimes he do it now. And he did he put hold his glass out when he's talking. So honestly, the little intricate things, he got it off to a T. I'm like, damn. And it was good. I know what I saw of it, and they I think they've given him justice.
Yeah,
I think when the film comes out, and it should have been done a long, long, long time ago because Naz is he's and he was an amazing fighter, and it's such a shame because that's not even you've got a story on Brendan, and Brendan again. That's a tip of the iceberg. With
mm,
Naz, stuff that this young man, he's an old man now.
yeah,
Naz, my man's got videos of him and Puff Daddy, Michael Jackson, Posh and all, Beckham's, all that stuff. He has it on his own camcorder. I'm like, what are you gonna do with that? You've got all this stuff, so you know what? He's been patient, saying, you know what, I'm keeping it. Problem is, you might keep it to a point where it's out of date and people are interested. But
mm,
I think if you really knew the true background of Brendan and of Naz, it would be a bestseller. And so
yeah,
so for legal reasons, certain things couldn't be said. For
yeah,
legal reasons, or no, for ego reasons, certain people want to look a certain way, and
mm,
won't put their hand up to say, you know what. And so, unless you were there and you saw it firsthand, you'll never really appreciate how amazing that era was, how amazing, that union with those two was. It worked perfectly.
for just him and Naz aside, what he is for boxing, I came up in an era where, and it's not my ignorance, it's just maybe the age and when I got into boxing, where I'm aware of the trainers from now and I see the videos from the trainers back then, Brendan included. I don't think anyone can really almost put into words, obviously someone like yourself probably can, the impact that he had on not maybe the people who made it to the top, but just the people in that gym. We're missing people like him, like the proper teachers, aren't we, from today? When you look around boxing now and you go,
Yeah,
we're missing
yeah.
that kind of guy.
Yeah, I see these trainers around and coaches around or PE teachers around, and they may know uh, how much water you have to drink and how many laps you're supposed to run. It's not just about that. The boxing game is a very strange game where just because you're physically fit doesn't mean you're going to do it. Just because you take drugs don't mean you're going to be a winner. The boxing game's that is more than anything else. And Brendan was a guy that made you believe in yourself, made you think you could actually reach the stars, made you believe
Mm,
that, you know what, you trust me, trust what I'm doing. If you trusted the process and you see it, you think, you know what, I'm having some of this. The things he did, the achievements he did, you know about the champions he produced. You don't know
yeah,
about the people in the street, the normal kid in the street, the families he helped. And I mean, in such an unorthodox way. You don't know about the kids that he kept out of prison. You don't know about the multicultural environment that he created 40 years before multicultural was a buzzword. You don't, and so this guy, he was years ahead of his time. There are no more Brendan Ingles because these guys are there, and go there, do the job. But once the fight's over, they're done. They're out of it. They're not interested. They don't want to go for a walk with you and talk to you about history and talk to you about achievements, talk to you about God, talk to you about, elite world leaders. They don't want to do that. Brendan did. So what he did is he grew your mind. He grew your mind to the point where you thought, I belong here. He grew your mind where you thought to yourself, I can do this.
Mm.
Gave you self-belief. There are no Brendans around. And if they are, I am them. What I do like is now and again, I see one or two old school trainers or promoters that knew Brendan, and we they sit down and talk about boxing. And I don't mean about, oh, do you see that fight? They talk about the stuff behind the scenes.
Mm.
That to me is not this stuff you guys see. That to me is boxing. And these fighters that I've said about AJ coming through, and I hope Moses one of those, they need to have that kind of people around them to make him think that way. Because it's all about being a champion. The thing is staying a champion, staying a champion. Look at Andre Ward. Andre Ward, he could have done. You look at what he achieved. He could have been so much richer, so much more popular. But you know what? He lived a life. Him and Virgil Hunter,
Hunter.
him to stick tight with him. They spoke boxing. You sit down. They speak boxing. They understand boxing. Boxing's their life. Andre Ward's no fool. And he's thinking, I can go for the bright lights and slip up here and there and not have that true depth and knowledge and wisdom, or I'm going to do it my way. And he's still respected at this point now. He's still at a point where he's talking about fighting AJ. You think, even though he's older, you sure you want some of that? But I think it'll be a good film. I think it'll give a little bit of justice to what Brendan's achievements, but it's never going to tell you the whole story. And I'm quite looking forward to it.
100%. Saw the trailer and I was just like, I have to see this. I think that's a great way to end. Lovely positive note to end on, Johnny. Look, thank you for jumping on, and said it's a good day out. Enjoy the rest of your day, my friend.
Lovely, sweet, no problem.
Appreciate it.